It's the 5th of October 1999. Just after 8 in the morning, London's rush hour is in full swing. Out of Paddington Station, commuter trains and long-distance services fan out under a forest of signals, carrying thousands of people into the city. Before we get into it, if you're into real-world disasters, rail crashes, and dark history told with respect, hit subscribe to Cruel Law so you don't miss the next story. In a few minutes, a Thames Trains commuter service and a high-speed InterCity train will collide almost head-on near a place called Ladbroke Grove. 31 people will die. More than 400 will be injured, and the crash will become the worst rail disaster of Britain's modern, privatised era. This is Cruel Law. Real disasters, real people, no gore. Just the way everyday systems fail, and the price that gets paid for it. It starts like any other weekday. At 8:06 a.m., a 3-car Thames Trains Class 165 turbo diesel set rolls out of Paddington on a stopping service to Bedwin. At the controls is 31-year-old driver Michael Hodder. He's only been fully qualified for a couple of weeks, still learning the complicated approaches in and out of Paddington, a maze of tracks, gantries, and colour light signals. Out on the main line heading the other way is a first Great Western high-speed train from Cheltenham to Paddington. 8 coaches between 2 power cars, built to run at close to 200 kilometers an hour. On board are business commuters, students, tourists, and people just trying to get to work. From Paddington to Ladbroke Grove, trains can run in both directions. Signals sit high on metal gantries, each lens lined up with a different track. Even in good conditions, it takes real focus to match the right light to the right line. Drivers know this stretch as a SPAD hotspot. SPAD meaning signal passed at danger. And one signal in particular, SN109, already has a bad reputation. Trains have passed it at red multiple times. As the Thames train service accelerates away from the platforms, it runs towards this danger point. Ahead of Hodder, the previous signal shows a single yellow, a warning that the next signal, SN109, will be red. A track magnet triggers the automatic warning system, forcing him to acknowledge the caution. That part works. What matters is what happens next. The October sun is low over West London. Reflections off signal lenses and steel gantries create glare. From the cab, the exact aspect for his track is hard to pick out until the last moment. Whatever mix of inexperience, signal position, and sunlight is at play, Hodder does not stop at SN109. The train rolls straight past the red and onto a route it was never meant to take, diverted across the path of the oncoming high-speed train. In the Slough Signalling Centre, staff see a train has passed a signal at danger. They begin setting other signals to red and try to send an emergency stop call over the cab radio. But by the time any of that happens, the two trains are only seconds apart. On the HST, driver Brian Cooper is bringing his train towards London at close to line speed. He has no idea there is now a commuter train on the wrong line ahead. At around 8:09 a.m., near Ladbroke Grove Junction, the two trains collide. The lighter Thames Turbo is torn apart. The leading car is destroyed. The front of the high-speed train is badly damaged, coaches derailed and thrown to the side. Diesel fuel from the power car sprays across the wreckage and ignites. Flames rip through one of the forward carriages. Inside, passengers are hurled out of seats, slammed into tables, walls, and each other. Some are knocked out instantly. Others wake in darkness and smoke, choking on fumes, trying to crawl through twisted metal toward any point of light they can see. On nearby roads and footpaths, people hear the impact and see a column of black smoke rising over West London. Motorists abandon their cars and run towards the tracks. Office workers come out of buildings as sirens converge on the scene. The first firefighters and paramedics arrive to find something that looks more like an aircraft wreck than a routine rail crash. Crews fight the blaze around the forward coaches, while paramedics begin triage among survivors who have managed to climb free or be pulled from the wreck. Others are trapped, pinned by seats, tables, or collapsed sections of carriage. Some never make it out. By the end of that day, 31 people are dead, including both drivers, and more than 400 are injured. For their families, there is no rush hour anymore, just anniversaries and unanswered questions. Public anger is immediate. This is not the first big crash on this route. 2 years earlier, the Southall rail crash, also involving a high-speed train and a signal past a danger, killed 7 and injured dozens on the same Great Western Main Line. People want to know why, in 1999, trains are still so exposed to one human mistake. The government orders a full public inquiry, chaired by Lord Cullen. Over months of hearings, survivors, rail staff, managers and regulators give evidence. The immediate cause is brutally simple: a SPAD. The Thames Trains driver passed SN 109 at danger and drove into the path of the oncoming train. But the deeper story is systemic. SN 109, the signal he missed, has a long history of visibility problems and near misses. Its position on the gantry, background clutter, and the way sunlight reflects off the lenses all add to the risk. Yet, it stays in use, largely unchanged. Drivers know it is a black spot. A new driver like Hodder is never specifically warned. Hodder's training also comes under fire. Under British Rail, trainee drivers would have spent longer in supervised training and would not have been turned loose on complex London routes until they had more experience. In the privatised system of the late 1990s, his route learning and assessment are shorter, more rushed, and failed to test how he would cope with awkward signals under pressure. Then there was the missing technology. The Thames Trains unit has automatic warning system, which beeps and forces the driver to acknowledge caution signals. But it cannot actually stop a train running a red. A more advanced system, automatic train protection, could have applied the brakes and prevented the collision altogether. After an earlier crash at Clapham, national rollout of ATP was recommended, then dropped as too expensive. Ladbroke Grove exposes that calculation in the harshest way. The inquiry does not stop at one driver. It criticises Railtrack, the private company then responsible for Britain's rail infrastructure, for weak risk assessment, poor signal design, and a lax safety culture. It faults regulators for being slow, under-resourced, and too willing to accept reassurances. On the approaches to Paddington, near misses had been treated as bad luck instead of warning signs. In the years that follow, Ladbroke Grove reshapes UK rail safety. The inquiry produces a long list of recommendations: changes to signal design and placement, improved driver training and route learning, better use of SPAD data, tougher oversight of safety management. A cheaper but more widely applicable protection system, TPWS, the Train Protection and Warning System, is rolled out across the network to cut the risk and impact of signal overruns. New bodies are created to separate investigation, regulation, and standards, echoing the model used in aviation. Thames Trains is fined for health and safety breaches. Network Rail, the successor to Railtrack, is fined as well. None of that brings anyone back. It does, however, send a message to an industry that had treated near misses as just part of the job, that on a busy high-speed railway, a near miss is just a disaster that got lucky. Today, trains still stream in and out of Paddington every rush hour. The tracks through Ladbroke Grove have been repaired, signals modified, systems upgraded. For most passengers, it is just another commute. For those who remember 5 October 1999, or who lost someone there, the morning sun on those signals and the sound of a train horn will never feel completely ordinary again. The Ladbroke Grove crash is a reminder that modern does not always mean safe. You can have high-speed trains, advanced signaling, and a glossy privatised network, and still lose 31 lives in a few seconds because one signal, one driver, and one system were not as solid as everyone assumed. This has been Cruel Law on the UK's worst modern rail disaster, the Ladbroke Grove crash. Travel safe, and never forget what one missed red light can do when there is a whole city's rush hour behind it.